You're on.
How you doing, guys? My name is Bernie.
I want to start that again.
Alright, how you doing? Wednesday night, red tag fly tyers night. My name is Bernie. I'm tying the Shrek pattern, made famous by Joe Riley down in Tassie for, it's a lure pattern. It's to intimidate fry, as we call it in Ireland. Laxia, as they call it in Australia, or perch fly or redfin fly as well. It is a modern, or was a traditional pattern without a bead, without the flash in it. It did have just no bead, and it had olive dubbing, sealed fur dubbing originally, or some just standard dubbing, and then a marabou tail. As most modern flies, you now have a bead head. You've got some flashabou, which I'll cover in a second. You've got holographic, and you've got a hen hackle on it as well. It has also created a breed of a number of different patterns as well, as the black Shrek, which is black body, red head Shrek, green Shrek, and a yellow Shrek as well. So different types of Shrek. The main thing with all Shreks is an olive tail, apart from black. That is marabou. It's got some flashabou in it. If you look at the flashaboos here, we're going to tie gold. Tom Jarman, a lot of guys talk about red. I've got an olive flashabou and a pearly flashabou, which we use for salmon flies in Ireland. The old common story, if there's no flash, it's no good. Then we're going to add on the marabou. I'm just working here on the flies. Then I've got my holographic flash. Chartreuse holographic for chartreuse version. I've also started playing around with some simplify ice shriggle or olive as well. Some of the patterns that we're going to put a modern tinsel on them. We've also got a number of different wires, and then I've got a hen hackle that we're going to tie on as well. I'm going to hand this around to the guys to have a look at them, and then I'm going to start tying one pattern. Over here, guys. So the first thing you do is you pick your hook. I'm going to pick a standard size 10 Hackle hook. It's a modern short and mid shank hook, medium gauge. The original pattern had a 3x, which is a fairly long hook. So 3x is the length of the shank. I'm just going for all my hooks to have a black nickel on them. Thread wise, I'm using olive thread. I'm using Simplify, that is 100D silk, so it's nice and small. Or you can go a finer thread. I use a finer thread, silk thread, so I can build up my heads without having a big bulk. But using one of the older style threads, you do get a large build up of thread on the hook. So I just shorten it down, use a modern thread, so then I don't get a build up as well. What you do is pop on the hook. Normally I can do this in a second at home, but I've got the camera on me tonight. It takes me a bit longer. If you prefer, you might want to do a lead wrap to lock in the eye. I just put a couple of wraps and then break off. Just be careful if you're using lead, wash your hands afterwards so you don't get lead poisoning. You can also get non-toxic weights as well. Just go to any of the sponsors and have a look at them as well. So I'm going to lock in my bead.
Is that tungsten?
This is pure lead, but you can get tungsten if required.
I mean the bead. Is it
it's a brass bead.
Yep.
Because we traditionally fish still waters,
Yep.
it is a brass bead. You can put a glass bead on it as well.
Yep.
For sort of like skinny water, or you can put a tungsten bead as well. I put a 3.2
Yep.
or a 3.8 mil bead with at size 10. You can go up and down as well. You can go up to 4 mil tungsten as well if need be. Got my marabou here, which is Flyology Strung Blood Quill Olive. So it's a nice olive pattern. You want to get nice plumes so you can actually pick out what you want to get. If it's trashy, use it for a cod fly or something else. You're going to grab out your fluff. I like to grab out some of my tail. I don't really fatten them out because you can see that some people wrap the marabou. I just like to keep it nice and thin. Keep it as long as you can, because if the fish are pulling long, you've got your tail on. But if they're pulling short, and you have a short tail and then they go back to pulling long, you don't have the fly to match. So tie the fly in with a long tail. You can then take some of it off if you need to. Just tear it off at the end. Lift your marabou up as you tie, and just bring your thread wrap around to stop it wrap around the shank. And just tear this off here to clean it up if need be as well. I leave it rough in there to build up the gap between my lead wrap and my body. So I've got my tail in. It's fairly long, roughly 4 times the length of the hook shank. I'm going to go modern with red flashabou. So I'm taking 2 strands of flashabou. As you see, if you break them, they flare. So just take your time and cut them. Am I getting on, Bill, with the camera? Am I in focus half the time? No. So grab your flashabou, present it to the side, and lock with a touching turn, and then pull your flashabou back and close it off as well. I've got a spring at the back here, so just pop my flashabou in there to keep it out of the way, so it stops it rolling down. Because I'm going red, you've got an option of wire, 2mm or 1mm. 2mm thread builds it up. 1mm I use for very small flies, so I'm going to go red so we can see it like a 2mm. Break your thread off. Don't cut it because you'll have a sharp end. So when you tie it off, you can actually twist. You don't cut, so you don't break your spring. So present your wire at the side and wrap back down to the tail. Close off as well. So I built out of my wire. Same thing again. Clip my wire in at the back so it sits out of the way. Next thing I'm going to come and add my holographic tinsel. It's got a flash on it. This is green Highlander or green. You also have a choice of using a holographic cascade or chartreuse. It's no use of a chartreuse, so you can play with whichever colours you want. The pattern that everybody's using has a green or Highlander green holographic flash. And you pop this on to your body. Some people like to add some super glue in it. I think it's an overkill because we actually are going to wrap around using one hackle and secondly a wire. That's what some people like to. And I've got a rotary vise, so I'm just locking it in place. I put a turn on the front here at my hand, a half hitch to stop it from fraying. And then going to wrap my head around. Just be careful that you don't nick the hook, because we'd have to start again, and it's also a bit of a pain. So just take your time, wiggle it back and forth. If you've built up with a larger thread, you can make a nice clean body. You coming back, what I like to do is I used to trap it here with my hand, tightening up my thread, and then come in and lash in for the point. So it closes. That's why I use a tight thread. And then lock it. Final lock. Keep the tension on your thread. If you've got a whip, bob, and just leave it there. And just nip off your point. So we've now built our body. We're now going to come and add our hen hackle. What this is, it's a soft hen hackle, saddle patch olive. Got this from Aussie Angler, the same. So it's a very small hen hackle. Traditionally, a lot of people tie with cock hackles for dry fly. They're really aggressive, they really float well. But because this is a wet fly, want a nice webby feel, we're going to go down with a hen hackle.
You do the rib after the hackle?
Rib after the hackle.
Yep.
Put the hackle in first and then add in the rib. The challenge when you're tying with hen hackle is, one, it's a bit delicate, and secondly, it's a lot shorter than your cock hackle. Traditionally, if you're tying a cock hackle, you've got 6 to 7 inches to play with. Here, 2 inches max. So, and I've got a webby pattern as well. I leave the wet pattern on because it is a wet fly or dry fly. Some people like to take it off, but to get rid of my bulk, I'm going to tear off one complete side of the hackle. So I'm presenting it to the fly on one side. You can also do, which I'll show later guys, an Irish rib. It's where you put it down with a blade and you cut the hackle and you fold it over. It is a little bit tricky for such small patterns. So then you bring your fly back, and this is your hackle that you're going to present to your fly. Pinching loop, and break off your point or cut. I did leave myself a little bit risky there by breaking it off because it can move, but we'll see how we go. Just give myself a little bit more light here, tying a bit in the dark. Get your hackle pliers. Very gently, don't, because it is a hackle to break. And I like to wrap, because I'm going to put my rib wire on clockwise. I'm going to wrap my hackle anti-clockwise. So you wrap your hackle in the opposite direction that you're going to put on your rib, because the rib's job is to bead in your hackle. If you put them on the same wise, they can unwind. And just put it's not touching turns, so just giving a bit of space to break it out. 3 or 4 turns down my hook. I'm going to put 5 because just make it nice and tight. Then I come with my wire. And then you jiggle it through, because you don't want it sitting across, so you want to just move it back and forth. Make certain that you don't have your ribbing flash stuck around your wire. Had that to start. And work your ribbing forward until you come to the very front, and tie it down as well. 2 ties, hold it tight and do it turning loop. So you twist it to break it off, you don't cut it off. And put a number of turns in the top, and put a whip finish on the front. Close the place, and then get your scissors, push up the cut. So don't cut in, push up the cut. I then get some UV varnish or resin. Hold it back with your fingers, little drop. And get your UV torch and set it as well. Or you can use Sally's Henson's heads or super glue, which I'll show as well. Then you come, just lock in. And I come to where the hen is, just pop that off. Grab my flash, it's a bit long, give it a trim. Grab a toothbrush that I've just to rake out your hackle, because it's a bit wide and this is a bit framing. And that there is modern Shrek. Yeah. Alright, pop in the thing.